Hey guys, this is Adeel Murtaza. I'm the host, and this is our second webinar where we are gonna um, take you through a startup journey. And today we have with us Adnan Qadeer, who is the CEO and founder of LugTrack, and we also have Asma Omar, who is also a co-founder from Marham. Um, these two startups are really distinct from each other, but definitely the journeys I think they're going to cross at some point, and they might already crossed. So we wanted to learn a little bit more from them. So let's start with Adnan. Um, Adnan, would you like to introduce yourself, and then I will play this video.
Well, thank you for joining in today and listening to um, my company's journey, my journey, as well as Marham and Asma's journey. So, uh, Adnan Qadeer is my name. I am a serial entrepreneur. Uh, so, after doing two startups in the past, one in Pakistan and one in US, now I basically work with companies to restructure them. So LugTrack is not where is a company where I did not start it as a founder. I'm their CEO, and I got hired to essentially turn that company around. Uh, it is an early stage company, so my role is to see if we can change the direction where it was heading and see if that can pan out. So I'll be happy to share more information later on as we progress.
Thank you, Adnan. So before we jump into Asma, let's play this video quickly so everybody's aware that what this product is and how it works.
So I'll give you some background what this product shows. This is one of the products that LugTrack makes. It's a tracking device. So LugTrack is basically an IoT-based company where our focus is to develop very smart tracking devices and tracking hubs. So we are one of the few companies in the world who have been selected by luggage providers such as Tumi and Samsonite. We are their OEMs, their technology providers, and we have developed a tracker that essentially is certified by the airline industries to be used on the planes. It's a lithium-ion battery, so there's a lot of requirement for that. So we are one of the few tracking devices that have successfully been approved by FAA, IATA, and all the other airline regulatory bodies. So what you see here is basically a video that Tumi created um, showing different capabilities of the tracking device that they sell in the market called Tumi Global Locator. And it's used primarily if somebody is traveling, you can put it in your luggage, check it in. The device is intelligent enough to communicate through your cell phone through an app and provides you positioning information using different types of technologies. It is intelligent enough that when you land at an airport, it immediately notifies um, which airport you're on. If you're using it outside the airport, it continues to track your traveling, your stay in a hotel. It's got sensors that if you leave your luggage unattended in a hotel, and if somebody tries to tamper with it, it knows that there's unauthorized tampering taking place, and it notifies you on your smartphones. So it's security plus convenience sort of thing that Tumi is selling as Tumi Global Locator, and we essentially are the technology partners behind it in terms of doing everything from design, manufacturing, certification, supply chain management. Tumi's role in all this stuff is just basically they have a logo on it and they sell it in their stores.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adnan. Let's move on to Marham, and I will have Asma introduce herself.
Yeah, thank you, Adnan, for sharing such amazing story about your product. So my name is Asma, and I am co-founder of Marham. And I've been working with Marham for last 3.5 years. And we have, I'll be sharing what we have built and what were our experiences and what we have learned through all the journey. So, Adeel, you can play the video and then I can, share the details.
Definitely.
Okay.
Doctors have joined us and make sure they're online and easy accessibility for patients. Together, with the help of patients and doctors, we have built a centralized 360-degree healthcare system for patients, doctors, and hospitals to ensure a faster care and better experience for patients. Moving forward, along with the expansion of this service, we will be working on research, awareness, and improvement of ground realities of our healthcare system with the help of patients' data. We believe in this era of technology, our people should not suffer like they do, and we will make a difference.
Here you go, Asma. Over to you.
Yeah, sure. So let me tell you guys a little bit about Marham. So as you've listened in the video, and maybe if there is some issue, let me explain again. So basically, Marham is a digital healthcare platform to connect patients with doctors. And the problem in Pakistan is that there are a lot of doctors and hospitals available, but there is no authentic platform for patients to go and ask about the information they require. So let me tell you a story that how actually Marham started. So Marham actually started that one of the co-founders of Marham, Ehsan, his father was not well, and he has to suffer a lot in finding the right information about his father's treatment. But unfortunately, that information was not easily accessible and it was not available in right time. He lost his father, and that was a very life changing moment for him, that okay, if a person like me with all kind of resources can't find the information about authenticity of the doctor and the treatment, then what's gonna happen to other people who are going through the same problem? So he made a simple Facebook community, that over Facebook people will ask questions related to healthcare problems, and community will guide them from their experiences. But what happened when we created that community? When we created that community, a lot of people, like more than 1,000 people, asked their questions in the group, and they were answered by other people in the group. So when that community started with the name of Marham, it was an experience that okay, the need of finding right healthcare information and connecting with right healthcare providers is much needed. So we have to build something systematic and long term that can provide a system to people that okay, this is where they can go and access information in a reliable manner. So for that, we started building Marham 3.5 years ago, and we built the website, the app, and later the call center helpline to make sure that patients, get access to right healthcare information and healthcare services. And when we have built that information platform, we need to make sure that patients not only get the information, they get a better experience as well. So we provided them the option to access healthcare information in an easy way. We help them book appointments with the doctors. We take their reviews so they can make better and informed decisions. And then in third step, to make things more easy and accessible for people, we have launched the service of telemedicine and video consultation in Pakistan. that people can connect with doctor anywhere through a video call via our app or website. And by this all service, we have served more than 5 million people till now. And last year, we have been selected by Google as among top 10 startups in Asia Pacific. And we were the only one from Pakistan. And when we presented Marham and our services over there, Marham won Audience Choice Award there as well. So 12,000 plus doctors are on board with us now, and things are started moving, and healthcare providers and healthcare system is now recognizing that okay, technology can empower patients and can make things better for them.
Thank you, Asma. That was really great. So I
Thank you.
think both of the startups that we are featuring today, I noticed that there is some kind of a social aspect to it and a benefit to the consumers. Um,
Yeah.
in LugTrack case, there is hardware device that is also part of the ecosystem. I would say, Adnan, can you share a little bit more, like on your side, do you provide end-to-end solutions, or your focus is more on the hardware itself?
No, it's not hardware. So it's an end-to-end solution. So
Mm.
I'll expand it a little bit more just for the benefit of everyone. In a startup, when anybody starts doing something, you first have to define which specific customer segment you want to go after, and what is the specific need that you want to address, and then what your value proposition is going to be to address that. Because with the technology available and the global nature of technology, it's very hard to think about anything that would be completely unique. And if it's unique, it's probably the reason because nobody actually wanted it to begin with. So you just have to find what value you're bringing in to address that specific pain point. And that's how we started also. The pain point was essentially a lot of people when they travel by plane, and I'm sure some of the people on the call also may have experienced that, they tend to, their luggage tend to get misplaced. Sometimes the luggage gets found later on. Sometimes they just file a claim and get it. So it has been a major problem. So a couple of years back, that's how the company started, that we looked at it and we developed a technology to address it. And when we initially did it, the focus was to just address that specific problem. But as we grew, kind of realized that this is a problem that goes beyond just the luggage. And then we developed a complete end-to-end solution, which comprised of a couple of things. One was you have to have a device to track any kind of asset. So we moved just from luggage to any kind of asset. You have to have an app for the end user to track it. Or if you're addressing a business, then you have to have a portal where they can access the information about all the movement of the assets, where they are, so that they can locate it and improve the utilization of their assets. So it became an end-to-end solution which comprised of all the data connectivity, all the technologies that are needed to identify the geolocation of a device across the globe and whatever is needed to do that. Then on top of that, how do you communicate between different types of devices using Bluetooth and other technologies? And then how do you have a data analytics engine on the back end who can make sense of all that information that's coming in? So we collect millions and millions of records of geolocations, and then we analyze it and we present it in a different manner. And so what we now are is an end-to-end solution that essentially focuses on one side, dealing with businesses who sell our tracker as a consumer product. And on the other hand, we deal with businesses who use it to address their pain point, which is logistics. So our technology gets used in warehouses, in the equipment. When the equipment moves from the warehouse on the trailer, the person knows where it's going. When it goes from the trailer to a store or destination location, the person who's receiving it or the company that's sending it, they all have full visibility to it. So that's essentially what we do.
Interesting.
That's what.
Sure. tell us, you mentioned you are a serial entrepreneur and you have done few other ventures before. Is that a straight line journey from point A to point B for you when you started LugTracker or any other ventures? Or was that, once you hit the road, then you realize, there are bumps on the road, and how do you maneuver yourself from place to place?
Well, I wish it was a straight line journey. It never is. That's the nature of the startup, and that's essentially what makes or breaks a startup. Because when the journey starts, there's a lot of energy. People may think that they know what the actual problem is and what they're trying to solve, and a lot of time they don't even reach out to the customers sometimes to even validate whether the customer would be willing to buy what they're creating. So there's always ups and downs, and in all these three ventures, that happened with me as well. There were times when the customers basically said that what you have is good, but not good enough to incent me to change the existing vendors that I'm already using. And on
Okay.
the other hand, there have been customers who actually identified new use cases that we were not even looking at just by the use of our technology. So it's always a roller coaster ride. But in the end, those who come out winner are the ones who essentially are more persistent and continue to just focus on what the customer is saying and deliver on it.
So is it fair to say that, before even you jump into invest in your startup, either it's a sweat equity or real money, you have to have understanding from the customer or user point of view, and maybe doing some kind of surveys will help you get into that path.
It's very important. In Because at the end of the day, any startup or any business is doing a business because of one reason: how to generate cash.
True.
So you can't generate cash if nobody is willing to pay for it. So do the homework first, do the analysis first, and at least identify some pain point. A lot of time, a lot of entrepreneurs start with the thought process that, hey, there's a market spend of $5 billion. If I get even 0.1% of that, I'll be happy. What they don't recognize is that if the industry is spending $5 billion, it is already going in some other vendor's pockets.
True.
What makes you special to get that money from that vendor's pocket into your pocket? And that's essentially the research that needs to happen first before you start creating something. It's just a better use of time, and the chances of success or failure essentially comes down the more due diligence is done up front. That's just my experience.
No, that's great. Asma, why would you like to share something from your side? Because I feel like starting something in countries like Pakistan, it's really a challenge. And how do you see yourself, growing over the last 3 years?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I love this photo because when we started, we made a very a great plan to start with, and it always helped us to stay focused and stay true to our objective. But in reality, there are always a lot of challenges, and similarly, like it's showing in this photo, but they help you so much to grow and do better things and bigger things. So similarly in Marham, when we started, as I said, we started with a Facebook community, and our objective was to help people, uh, initially just to connect people and help them. But as we need to see, no, okay, we have to build something sustainable, a sustainable solution for people where they can take help on their own and get their medical information and medical services accessible to them very easily. It was difficult in two terms specifically, because number one, uh, when we taken this service to doctors initially, they were like not very happy to share their information, and they were like, okay, no, we are not interested to join any digital platform or something like that. But then slowly and gradually, our team made them understand that, okay, what's the future and what's going to happen if you are not available online and you are not accessible to the digital audience, because everything is available on internet right now. Why not healthcare services available on internet? So the doctors, so convincing doctors, then making the product as much easy as possible for people, because in Pakistan, people don't use technology. At that time they were not very much into it, but now things are changing quite much. But then making a product that is actually fit according to the healthcare industry, because healthcare industry is again quite a challenging area. So learning about users, about healthcare industry, about doctors, about connecting them at one place, so it was quite a great journey.
Interesting. So I think for your co-founder, Ehsan, he had a lifetime experience, and that was his, I think, point where he decided to start Marham.
Yeah.
So he was inspired, and he might have noticed that there is so many issues within Pakistan. Adnan, what was your inspiration when you started LugTrack?
Well, like I said, I'm not the founder of LugTrack. My inspiration, I started a venture. The one I started in Pakistan that was focused on Urdu language desktop publishing. So that was back in early 90s.
Nice.
Um,
Okay.
so at that time there was a need in Pakistan for a desktop publishing application, because the only alternative that was available was a company, two companies out of UK who used to make it, and they were selling it at that time for about 1 crore rupee each system. So only Jung and Nawai used it, nobody else. So that was our inspiration to essentially bring Urdu language desktop publishing in Pakistan, and we became the #1 desktop publishing application provider there, not only for the publishing industry, but also for a lot of businesses and government sector. So when my second venture was here in the US, and that was in cybersecurity, where instead of focusing more on securing just the figuring out how to avoid denial of service attacks or all that sort of stuff, our focus was more on user identity authentication. And instead of using just username and password, how do you use biometrics? So uh, use multi mode authentication. So our inspiration at that time was, it's actually interesting. It was more from Islamic point of view, that fingerprint is unique, and that's mentioned in the Quran also. I said, if that's the case, let me use that and build something that can actually make it very, very easy for anyone online to do fingerprint-based identity authentication to secure their access. And we built one of the biggest platforms that did that. It was device independent. You could use it on smartphones with iPhones and Samsung phones, and you can use it on different types of tablets that have fingerprint sensors in it, or you can just connect a USB-based fingerprint sensor and use it with anything else. So
Okay.
it was used by some banks and healthcare sector. So the inspiration was, interestingly enough, just to secure cybersecurity and come up with a technology that was at least 10 times better than what was available at that time in biometrics, and at 1/10 the cost. And we actually met both those targets and changed the dynamics of that industry.
Very nice. So looking at this startup curve, where do you think Luck Tracker is at this point? Are you guys scaling? Are you currently in the market? Where are you?
Um, so we are currently in the market. We've got customers who are using it, and they are selling it to other customers. What we have now done essentially is, after proving the technology in the travel space, we are now expanding into a second vertical, which is in the logistics space. with a new solution that we have just recently developed. So that's essentially where we are. So um, the initial view that the company had was to focus on just the travel industry, but we now believe that there's a much better opportunities beyond that. So which would on this image that you have on the screen, it's at an early stage of scaling.
True. Okay. No, that good to know. What do you think, Asma? Where do you guys stand right now, and what's the plan going forward?
Yeah. So right now we are at the stage of scaling.
Okay, great.
We are at the stage of scaling because like as your previous image in this one, I must say that even the reality served us way better than our plan actually, because when we started and when we actually keep on doing what we meant to do and what was our objective, it it opened up so many different areas and avenues and experiences for us that okay, we learned and keep on improving things. And then because there was a strong vision behind it, we were sure that okay, for a specific time we will be focused on achieving our product market fit, and we will make sure that our product is able to serve people and doctors at the same time. So as we've worked specifically hard on that area for a very long time and achieved that, and achieved the numbers and bigger than our expectation, now is the time when we say that okay, this is when we are ready to scale and our basic product is ready, our core quality processes are ready. Because in healthcare, when you are providing a digital service, online service, you have to make sure that your every single patient gets a great and similar experience, which you have built for them. So once those processes are ready, the service is ready, and the product is ready, and it's generating a certain amount of revenue and everything, this is our time when we say that okay, we are ready to scale and our marketing formula is ready and everything. So this is our scaling time.
Okay. Are you guys in Pakistan? Are you planning to scale within the same vertical? Or are you also looking at taking it to some other dimensions?
Yeah, so for right now, we are looking into the same vertical to scale it, because there is a huge work that needs to be done in the same vertical, that is, growing the number of our patient base and growing the number of our doctors. So that's the main vertical in which we are growing right now. But in coming years, we believe that we will be having our own chain of hospitals, because healthcare service is not only or the quality of a healthcare service can't be make sure only when you provide services digitally. You have to provide something on ground as well to make sure that people get much needed services which they require. So from the basic information to appointments to video consultations to our own hospitals where patients are getting cured and getting better is the way forward for us.
Interesting. So we're moving on to the challenges that you guys face, and there are this interesting illustration that I really like. What most people think
Yeah,
and what successful people know.
yeah,
I think when I was hearing you guys, I feel like yes, that's how you guys are heading. I would like to know maybe one or two instances of your failures or challenges that you might have tried in the market and it didn't work for you. Let's start with Asma from you, side.
yeah. So let me just tell here, I'm basically by profession, I'm a software engineer. So I worked on the product of Marham and its user experience, because it was one of our core priorities that okay, the user experience should be brilliant. So we have built even our basic product for initially for the 7 times. We built it, we see okay, it's not generating the results, it's not generating the results. People are not able to get what we are trying to say, and things in this and that way. So we built it again and again and again, and then we reached to a point that okay, that is the the point of conversion. That, okay, when a patient comes, that patient gets the service. Similarly, from in the business model, initially we hit and trial a lot of things, but then we found out later by failing few times, okay, that this is that something that is working. Then again in marketing, we tried multiple things, one, two, three, four, but then we found out that okay, now this is the way forward, and this is the way that will be helping out in generating the results which we require. So this is exactly like that, and failure is amazing. Like I love failure more than success, because you learn and grow so much through failure that it is eventually leading you to success, and it should motivate you to go beyond and do better things.
Thank you, Asma. Adnan, you want to share something?
Sure. I think if you look at the number of failures versus number of wins, they certainly outnumber the number of wins. But when the wins happen, if they're big enough, then they just offset all the failures, and that's how you learn. The key thing is to be persistent, and that's what always paid off. We tried different avenues. Uh, when I did the cybersecurity one, we started only working with Windows at that time. We were persistent. When I initially started, at that time, a lot of CIOs didn't even understand what biometrics was.
Wow.
So it took a while to even convince them that this is something that would make things secure for their users, and they can get away from having all of these kind of hacks that typically, no matter how secure the firewalls are, just because of the user identity authentication issues, simple passwords can break any kind of security that's in place. So, but staying persistent paid off, and what happened in our case was when Apple introduced Touch ID in their smartphones, that was kind of quick learning for all the CIOs that this thing is real, and they
Sure.
started coming back to us. So, but before that, there were a lot of failures.
That makes sense. Okay. And do you believe that, let's say you started a venture and, somehow it was not the right time, not the right place. But, did you think that entrepreneurs should move on to a different venture, or should they continue investing their sweat and equity in the same path, same direction? Like, what should be
Yeah,
the right approach?
I think that's where going back to my earlier comment that we need to understand the customer and we need to understand the pain point.
Mhm.
If we come up with a pain point on our own, that's where the risk of being ahead of the market comes in more. And I saw that for the biometrics authentication, we were ahead of our time. And as a startup, we did not have the resources to educate our customer on the benefits because it's a huge uh, effort.
True.
And it became easier for us when a giant like Apple came in the picture. So we were ahead of time. So that's why, it, as to minimize some of the failures, it's always good to understand the customers and validate what we are thinking with them to make sure that they also see it that way and they see it at a level where they would be willing to write a check if that problem gets solved.
Interesting. Yeah, and I can totally relate to you because I started a startup mobile application that was for nutrition, and we did that like 5 years ago when nutrition was not something like a focus for our patients, but it was, we were hearing it here and there, and again, like that was one failure for us. And what we realized, like we was ahead of time. But we didn't give up, and we tried to invest our money and our development, but for another 2-3 years. But then at that time, there were other startups that emerged, and they had a better product. So I think what you just said, that you have to look at from the marketing aspect, from your competition point of view, who's in the market with you, you're competing with. So all those, I think, factors needs to be considered. Okay. Asma, I think there is a question for you, and if you can answer that. Um,
Yeah, sure. So the question is, how do you make the platform reachable for rural areas? What are the challenges you faced and how was it addressed? So, Devan, I would like to introduce something here that in Marham, our 65% of audience is from rural areas or from very smaller cities. So, and they reach us. How? They reach us on our call center helpline. We do have a digital platform, but then we have a call center helpline for those people who are not, who can't use technology in a very easy way. And how we reach to them is that there are two ways. Number one, people reach out to us through they get to know us about word of mouth, and second is that they get through us via Google or via social media platform. And internet is available and accessible in most of the rural areas as well now, and people are connected with Facebook. They can access Google as well, and then they can see to find information and ask someone else to find it or look it up for them. There was a story where a patient told us that he was traveling in a bus, and he asked someone that, okay, I am uh, going for a doctor, and where should I go? And that person said, okay, wait, let me tell you about Marham, and we can find information through them. So right now, number one is through word of mouth or through digital media platform. But what we are doing right now is that we are taking our telemedicine platform to those smaller cities or smaller areas where people, uh, their GPs or people themselves can connect to video consultation service. We are giving the tablets, we are installing it in different villages, different smaller cities, so patients can connect to the doctor. There will be an assistant who will be helping those who are not educated enough or are not that tech savvy, and those people will be connecting them through our telemedicine to our doctors at Marham's office, and they will be communicating for healthcare services. So now we are building that kind of network. Then the challenges we are facing in that is this, that implementing, finding those trustworthy people who take it forward, and then making sure of it. But what we have found out through our experience by now, that people are very they need this service so much that they are willing to do it, and then it is very cost effective for them as well, because coming to doctor by traveling or doing a lot of other things is very cost consuming for them. But through video consultation or calling to a doctor and connecting through that, it's very easier for them, it saves a lot of money and time for them, so they accept it, they respond to it and use the service. So this is how we are now penetrating into rural areas. Then we are doing unique partnerships with people who are willing to invest in disease awareness programs in those areas. So we are collaborating with big names who will be helping us in raising awareness on different diseases like hepatitis, TB, psychological diseases. So taking our product to those areas, and then raising awareness in those areas. And our rural areas are very good in generating word of mouth. If you're doing a thing in one area, a lot of people will hear about it, and they will get to you in this thing. Number fourth we are doing is collaborating with those people who are already reaching out to these rural areas people through agricultural products. So we are connecting with them and seeing that, okay, because these rural areas earn via farmers and their agriculture services, how we can reach out to those data and that information to connect them to our platform to our services. So we have taught a lot about rural areas because there are a lot of population in those areas. So this is how we are taking things forward. Initially, we were focused on urban areas because we know that to make ourselves sustainable, we have to start from somewhere where it is easy to penetrate, and urban areas were easy to penetrate. Rural
Sure.
areas were difficult to penetrate, but now as our services are ready and the strategy is ready, so we are, when reaching out to those areas, it is generating, it's showing us the results.
Okay. No, that's great. Um, I think it would be a good transition to move on about the business model. And
Yeah.
I think, Adnan, you have shared a little bit before, but tell us, what are your revenue streams, and are you right now, is their product good for B2B, business to business, and business to consumers? Or
It's B2B. It's our
okay,
focus is we don't sell anything to consumer. Our customers sell to consumers.
makes sense. And that is mostly, through the like the partners that you're working is they could be a luggage manufacturer, or
Yeah.
any industrial examples that you can share?
In the logistics space, so there are companies who basically provide warehousing and logistics services, and there are companies who provide airport ground handling services. So these are companies when you check in the luggage, it actually just by magic doesn't show up on a plane and shows up on the other side. There are companies who do that, and sometimes these are airline employees who are doing it, but most of the time these are companies who just specialize in these kind of things. So they have a lot of equipment on at the airport that some of it small size containers get into the plane also, and then they uh, go to the other airport and they get used there. So there's a lot of equipment and inventory that needs to be managed and tracked, and that's where our solution also works. So what we provide actually is a tracking solution that actually is also works as a hub. And because of that nature, there are other BLE devices that can sense temperature, that can sense humidity, they can provide location information, and they all communicate with our hub. So you can install those smart tags anywhere, and they would work with us. So essentially, that's also part of the things that we provide in a business-to-business environment in this other vertical.
Interesting. Asma, you want to share something?
Yeah, regarding business model. So in the circle of Marham, there were a lot of services that were required by patients to make things better for them. But in terms of business model, what was our main pain point that helped us develop this business model? The main pain point regarding building this business model is this, that a lot of patients, go to those doctors who they know about us. But then there are a lot of doctors who are equally qualified and capable, but people don't know about us. So let me tell you what our business model is. Our business model is this, that every confirmed lead a doctor gets through our platform, they give us a percentage for the consultation. So it's like for every new patient fee, they pay us a certain percentage, and it was beneficial for those doctors who are equally qualified and competent and available to work, but there was no platform for them to highlight their services or make them accessible for patients. So we have added all those doctors who are very, a very established process, and we make them available to patients. So through Marham's product, patient can find their nearest doctor and go to them, because people find it easy to go to their nearest doctor, but they didn't know how to find out the authenticity and details about those doctors. So we have added doctors from every area, from every city, uh, who qualify our uh, uh, criteria and are willing to join us. So those doctors, when they get a lead through our platform and serve our patient, they give us a certain percentage over that.
Yes, and I would tell you, like, my mother, she's based in Pakistan, and she's diabetic. And when I found out about your app, I shared it with my brother, and asked him to consult. And what we really like is, like, there were reviews for doctors, and it's really
Yeah,
hard to see that thing. So thank
yeah.
you for that.
Yeah, thank you for using it. So exactly, when we were building the app, initially we added those doctors who were famous, who were very well known, but we found out that okay, there's a waiting time of 3 months, 4 months, and then how to make sure that our patient base is getting served on in minimum time as possible. So for that we have to add doctors, and we have to add that information that make it trustworthy for them, which help them making an informed decision. So we collected all that information, which is easy for people to make a better decision for their loved ones. So, and reviews was a very important part of that. We have to guide doctors a lot about that. That okay, you have to build your online word of mouth. Our patients have to, you have to serve them in a better way. So they provided information about them, and doctors take care a lot of, there are a lot of doctors who improve their practice, ways of their practice standards, by being conscious that okay, patients have some power, they can go online and write something about us. So that has collectively helped a lot in making doctors more conscious and improving life and the experience for patients.
Okay, great. Um, so basically, milestones and future plan, I would like to really focus because we are running out of time and we need to give some folks to ask questions. So what is the future plan for Marham, and where do you guys stand today, if you can share that?
Yeah, sure. So right now, we have called 2019 our year of growth. This is the year when we have to, expedite and, scale our services. So we are growing our patient base through, digital marketing, and then our offline activities, like I've mentioned, for the rural areas and for, people in Pakistan. So primarily, it's like growing the number of patients. It's uh, growing our telemedicine and teleconsultation service, making more people aware of it. Then doing unique partnerships with people to reach out to more people, and then taking things forward from there.
Thank you, Asma. Adnan, what's your future plans?
Continue to grow in both these verticals where we currently have presence. So there's a lot of marketing effort and business development effort. So business to business tends to be a little bit different than business to consumer in terms of how we reach out to. But the plan is essentially to grow in these two specific segments, given our strength with some of the existing customers, to utilize that and get a bigger market share.
Are you focusing on some regional area? Are you global?
No, we are global.
Great. Okay.
So LugTrack has presence in US. We have presence in China and in Italy. So we cover all three regions.
Interesting. Marham, do you have any chances of growing outside Pakistan?
Yeah. So in terms of globally, there are a lot of, so in global terms, there are a lot of patients right now, even as well, who come to our platform and take teleconsultation services. So we are already, plus, and then medical tourism. We are already having doctors from Turkey on board with Marham. They are available to consult, and their listings are available. Then from UK, and then we are having just in final collaboration ways in doctors from US, then in in Australia. Like Ihsan is in Sydney right now, so he's working on those things. So we are, onboarding doctors from different countries for our telemedicine platform, and then we get a lot of traffic from Afghanistan, from Canada, from UAE, because there are a lot of Pakistanis and a lot of people who are living there, but the healthcare services are quite expensive for them. But there are doctors even in Pakistan who are, foreign qualified and equally qualified and can give, teleconsultation services on a very low consultation rate. So a lot of patients who are not in Pakistan but are in different regions of the world are accessing our platform to consult with doctors and take medical advice, because technology right now is crossing those boundaries, and people if find value, they connect with you and they take services. There are a lot of patients who are from other countries. They have booked us for surgeries and procedures, like which I call medical tourism. So they have come to Pakistan and they get their surgeries and their treatments done. Like for example, in India, medical tourism is a huge industry, and similarly in Pakistan, we are uh, the first movers in that dimension, who are bringing patients outside the world to Pakistan and getting them treated on you know uh, on an affordable with quality services.
So thank you so much, Adnan and Asma. And I will just open up. If anybody have any question, please raise your hand and I will unmute you guys. Yes, Zulfikar.
Yeah, I have few because it's starting, but I'll go with only one because we have limited time.
Sure.
So if there is an idea, do you start with the patronizing that and go with that, or do you start with the NDA and go and talk about it, or you just blindly trust the people who you are talking to and then go with idea?
Adnan, you like to answer?
Sure. When you say idea, is it about a development or is it a business idea?
Right now it's both. Yeah, it's a business idea, but I don't know if there is a product already. So
Okay, so getting a patent basically is an expensive proposition.
correct.
The benefit of getting a patent essentially enables you as a startup to protect yourself. It doesn't allow you to essentially go after other companies who may be infringing it, but um, and it also depends on what you need to do with that patent, because the whole process for getting a patent essentially takes years. On average, expect about 2 to 3 years to get a patent. But in that meantime, rather than just waiting to get a patent awarded, it's always good to start reaching out to people, sign NDAs and do it. At the end of the day, a product can be the best product in the world. If you don't have the right resources to market it, it's not going to go anywhere. On the other hand, if the product is not the best in the world, but you have the right marketing resources, you can still sell it. And the sooner you get it out in the market, if anybody even copies your idea, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be more successful than you are. My view always, and I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs about this stuff also, is if you have an idea, just sign NDAs, share it with others, what you need to do, start developing it. If you want to file a patent, do it in parallel, but don't make it as a showstopper, because by the time you get the patent, you're going to lose the market opportunity. Somebody else will come up with that idea. The market is too broad and too quick for anybody to miss any kind of great ideas for too long a period of time.
Thank you, Adnan and Zulfikar. If you need more information, there was the first session. Actually, we covered a lot about patents, so I would say go for check that video. Yes, Zulfikar.
One more thing, maybe very basic. So how do you see, right, based on idea like B2B or B2C, is there any challenge between these two areas, or it's the same challenge, take a shot and then go through the hurdles to reach the goal?
No, very different challenges. B2C is reaching out to consumer is a completely different type of
of resource and effort versus reaching out to businesses. So depending on what you need to do, you need to first decide which area you want to go into.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay. I have one question for Asma. How is government of Pakistan helping you in your venture, basically?
Yeah. So, government of Pakistan, as far as we haven't connected with them by now for specific services, but right now we've been doing it on our own and developing the services. But this year we are now in conversation with government as well to make things accessible in rural areas and making it possible. There is another area in which we are working, that is child immunization and vaccination area, in which our API program is working, and they are doing work on it. So we are collaborating with them over data, over implementing the vaccinators, and making sure that patients in every home is getting the vaccination that is required to live a healthy life. So we are collaborating with the government officials who are already working in that domain. Apart from that, this year we will be seeing that how to connect with them to take things forward.
Thank you, Asma. I think we are almost at our time, and thank you so much for being here and sharing your knowledge with us. And stay connected with ShareVentures. And if you guys need to get any kind of help, we will be here to help you guys.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you.